What's happening, guys? Welcome along to another episode of 420 News. I'm your show host, Martin Condon, and 420 News, guys, is brought to you by Martin's World. Just packing up a bowl there as we get started. Apologies, guys, for the little delay there getting started. It seems like the old internet service providers here in the area were doing some upgrades to the old service, and they just turned it back on literally before I was about to go live. And I was going to go live using the old hotspot on my phone, but thankfully they're back up and running. So fingers crossed they stay up and running and they don't put the bloody the service back down again. But look, if I disconnect at any point throughout the show, well, you have an idea as to why that is. So nice one, everybody, for tuning in. Got a little audience building up out there at the moment, and iRush, they're helping with that then as well, also getting the stream shared over on Twitch. So thanks very much there for that, iRush. Right, so we blaze on up, guys. Happy 420, everybody out there. Little civil disobedience protest as always, just to get the old warm up going for the show. Gotta find me a lighter then as well. The lighter see-through. Go on, lighter. No visible lighter. Yes, gotta love the green screen magic. Right, so blazing on up, guys. Hope you're all packed up and ready to take part in some protest of your own. Ah, no, sorry to hear that you're out there, Hebsby girl. Hopefully you can get stocked up again soon. I wonder, is it too hard to find stuff down in Australia? I suppose then as well, Australia is massive, so it depends on what part you're in. Maybe if you're in more of the built-up areas there, Sydney and places like that, it probably is a bit easier to find than maybe in the old, more secluded outback areas. Have you ever been to Nimbin, actually? Hebsy girl. I would be interested in hearing about that. I would love to get over there and check it out. It looks like a really interesting place. But yeah, that's just over in Australia. If anybody hasn't ever heard of it, check it out. Nimbin, Nambin. Who's out there, guys? Quick shout outs to everybody after getting the comments in there. We have Daily Talker, Mistaways, Hype TCK, Shy Son, Podge85, Alter Ego, Irish Hemp Harvest, John Finnegan, DB Woodcraft, Bogwan's Son, Kitmer, what's going on, guys? Skatanis, WRT Gunner, Mark, what's happening, Mark, over there on Facebook as well. Who else is out there? Stoner Dan, what's happening, Stoner Dan? Hopefully Stoner Dan, I'll be seeing you above the major smoke up there in another 2 weeks time, is it? Yeah, just over 2 weeks now for the old major smoke up on the 10th of July. Hope that's already noted down in everybody's calendar out there, guys. 10th of July for the major smoke up, kicking off at 2 p.m. above there in the Phoenix Park by the monument in there. Jeez, I can't remember the name of the monument. Something Buckley, is it? The Buckley Monument? I don't know. But above in Phoenix Park, anyway, surely you'll be able to find it. You smell us, anyway. Smell us out. Other people out there, Hebsy Girl also, and Ferg, what's happening, Ferg? And the Demigod Complex, what's going on over there on Twitch as well, and Christy O'Neill and Teresa. That's all of you guys, and Fwetch just getting in there in the end. Welcome along, guys, to this show. Hope you're all doing very good out there, and thanks very much for all your comments. I'm doing super. See many of you asking, guys. It's midweek. We're after getting through the week mighty fine, and hopefully we'll continue that way as well for the rest of the week. And right, we'll get stuck into the news, guys. And before I get into the first piece of news, I'd like to just remind you guys in the morning, keep an eye out for the stream. I'll have a stream up of the FSAI event. The FSAI is holding an event in the morning, kicking off at 10 a.m. I'll have to head off to college kind of midway through the event, so I'll just leave it stream up on my own page. Hopefully I might be able to get back on time to be able to do a few bits and pieces, but I'll have it up there streaming for you guys. But if you're at all interested, you can go over to the FSAI to their own website, and they have the event up there in which you can register. It's called Breakfast Bites, and it's about the what's it called? I can't remember the actual title of the event, but you find it up there, Breakfast Bites Cannabis FSAI event, and that'll find the fee if you want to register. Otherwise, just check it out in Martin's World and you'll be able to see it up there as well. So that's kicking off in the morning at 10 a.m. So the first headline I have for you today, guys, is that there was a man and he was silly enough to think he could, well, I suppose there'll be many people actually who think they can smuggle drugs into the Cork Prison and to other prisons around Ireland, and many of them are quite successful in doing so. But unfortunately, not all of them are. And interestingly enough, I was reporting on another story last week where cannabis oil was being smuggled in for somebody who needed it for medicinal reasons, I suppose. But in this case, it was a young Waterford man who came up with a harebrained plan to carry cannabis and tablets into Cork Prison when visiting, and he was yesterday ordered to do 200 hours of community service over his crime. This was given to him by Judge Olin Keller, who said to the accused, the only reason you are not going to prison for this is your age. And I really think you did not realise the seriousness of bringing drugs into prison, as well as the community service. The judge imposed a 6-month suspended jail term. I would be very honest here in thinking that maybe the real reason the judge actually didn't arrest him is because, you know, all the guy was doing was trying to smuggle some drugs into the prison. Like, it's not a big deal, to be fair. The drugs going into the prison probably does the prison's wardens and things like that a service, because at least the prisoners are able to kind of be a bit more relaxed and, you know, a bit more sedated depending on what the tablets are that he's bringing in there. But if it's good cannabis and if it's going to be able to keep the people happy in there, that's only going to make the old environment a bit safer, I suppose, for the prison warden. So in fairness, the guy was actually doing a service by sneaking her in there. Even some of the prison wardens and there's other people in there working within the prison system who are complicit in this, and they help to get the drugs in there. It's not always just smuggled in by people such as this individual. But his solicitor, anyway, Frank Buttermore, said the probation report was favourable to the young man, and the prison drugs dog sniffed out the stash, and the visitor was prosecuted on drugs charges to which he pleaded guilty. So obviously this guy was after going into the visiting room. He was trying to sneak the drugs in via the visiting room, and he was going to pass them to somebody inside there once he was meeting with him. But obviously the old drug dog was able to smell the cannabis. But if the guy, it's interesting here, if the individual hadn't actually concealed cannabis with the drugs, the dog would have been none the wiser. Because the dog isn't actually trained to smell Valium type tablets, you know, the alprazolam. So the dog isn't trained to actually sniff that out. He's trained to smell cannabis. So that's probably the biggest mistake the individual risked. So that's unfortunate. And I would actually agree with that kind of thing then as well. You know, when I was in prison myself, I was offered all sorts of tablets. The very first person I was actually offered tablets from going into prison was actually a nurse. The nurse, upon being admitted to the general population, actually said, "Hey, do you need anything? Can I get you something to help you sleep? Do you know, does your mood need regulation?" Do you know, it was very interesting that was my first encounter with being offering drugs, and it was only on the second day inside there, once I was actually in with the general population, then I was offered more drugs on the prison yard. I knew a person there in the yard, and he knew me, and he came over and he's like, "Oh, Jesus, surprised to see you in here," and blah, blah, blah. And you know, it's not a kind of a person I would have stopped to have said hi on the road, I suppose, because he was in there for robbery and shit like that. But he was saying to me, he was like, "Oh yeah, if you want, I can get you this, I can get you that," like, you know. And yeah, it was actually hard enough to get cannabis inside there. He was probably able to get a bit of hash, he said, all right. But to get cannabis wasn't that easy at all. The solicitor anyway said that about the individual and his attempt, that this was not a very successful attempt to do what he should, to do what he should not have been doing anyway. This was an idea he came up with himself. His friend was in Cork Prison. He decided to bring him a present. His friend was not expecting to get this present. Yeah, that's what you're going to be saying when you're in there anyway. And the prison officer probably realised straight away what was going on. He admitted this rather be a harebrained idea. Judge Kelleher said it was so harebrained, I don't know how he thought he could get away with it. The 21-year-old from Waterford pleaded guilty to the charges of conveying drugs to Cork Prison, namely €50 worth of cannabis and 25 tablets in total. So he gets a suspended sentence in this, and he also has to do 200 hours community service. So he's gotten a conviction. So while the judge, took pity on him because of his age, he showed no pity there at all, because now this individual has a criminal conviction for the rest of his life. He's caught with possession of illegal drugs. That's fucking damaging outside of whatever else he might have got convictions for there, whatever conviction you get for trying to, convey drugs to a prisoner. But yeah, that's what prohibition is causing in our society. If individuals were not having to go to prison for petty things like possession of cannabis and stuff like that, there might be individuals then having to sneak it in there to them. If cannabis was legal and regulated, and a person was prescribed it or needed it for whatever reason, maybe it might be afforded to them inside in prisons. Then we move on, I suppose, to another court case that happened. This one above in Dublin, I believe. It was a 52-year-old father who was caught growing 21 cannabis plants in his house. He said he was going to use them for making tea and cookies. So this individual was, and interestingly enough, he was a Dutch dad who was 52 years of age, and they say he was caught growing 16,000 euro worth of cannabis plants for use in tea and cookies, and that he had no idea of the seriousness of his actions. His name was Randolph Bruin, and he claimed that he had planted the seeds to see if they would grow. And George Jones accepted that Bruin was a decent man and a family man also. The judge ordered the defendant to donate €1,000 to the Laura Lynn Foundation, and he struck out the charges. I wonder, will the judge take into consideration, I raised almost €1,000 for Laura Lynn Children's Foundation. Judge, can I grow 21 cannabis plants, please? Will you let me off, But interestingly enough, I suppose, the individual got off with this. He paid the donation to the charity box and to the Laura Lynn Foundation. And he had to admit possession of the cannabis and the cultivation also without a license. The Garda involved here, Thomas McDaniel, told the Blanchardstown District Court that he had obtained a search warrant and searched the defendant's home at Charnwood Green in Clonsilla. I wonder why he got a warrant here for this individual, because you have to wonder. I would wonder, was the individual actually growing it on his windowsill? He was maybe a bit naive to what he was actually doing, if he was honest in what he was saying. That, look, I actually didn't realise this was such a problem here. I thought I would have been able to grow a few plants at home myself for my own use. I didn't realise they were worth so much. And he kind of contested the value of the plants too, because they were only being grown on the on windowsills around the house. They weren't actually being grown under any lights in tents or anything like this, because again, the Garda Thomas McDaniel shared with the court that during the course of the search, the Gardaí found cannabis plants in various locations, including the kitchen, a bedroom, and in a greenhouse at the rear of the property. So again, maybe the bathroom and the bedroom and the kitchen were at the back of the house. So maybe they weren't grown at the front of the house, but maybe one of the neighbours spotted them out the back and snitched them up. Again, I wonder how the cops how he was brought to the attention of the cops. Like, there's a snitch out there, unfortunately. The 21 plants in total, the cops say, had a total value of actually €16,800. And the court heard that the DPP had directed a summary trial in the district court on a guilty plea. Bruin, who had no previous convictions, was given the benefit of the donation to the charity box, and has not received a conviction then of that also. So very interesting, I suppose. Like, Bruin, who's 52 years of age, was growing cannabis for his own personal use. He kind of relays to the court the fact that, look, I didn't realise this was a big issue. I've never been in trouble with the law before. Look, I won't do this again. And he actually gets off with it, like €1,000. Okay, it's a significant amount of money. But, it's like 21 cannabis plants. Like, that's a fair few plants, in fairness. Like, he could have locked them up because it's over €16,800. that's a minimum mandatory of 10 years because over €13,000. But judges have the power of discretion in extenuating circumstances. Basically, because the age of the man, he's trying to say, because of the man standing with the law, he's never been in trouble before. Maybe the fact because he's a Dutch national as well, like coming from Holland as well, he comes with a bit of a culture there. This was probably a normal thing for him when he was growing up over in Holland. So again, a very interesting one, really. 55 or 52 years of age and caught with 21 cannabis plants, and just got a donation to the charity box, albeit of €1,000, a large sum of money. But look, it's a small price to pay for freedom, I suppose, of some sense. Would you call it freedom? I wouldn't really call it freedom. Like, this individual is not allowed to grow cannabis plants for his own use. How free are you if that's the case? Why would you want to pay €1,000 to go back into that society? If I can, it's an opportunity to say, hey, come here, this is bollocks, like, do you know what I mean? That those plants were for my own use. Like, I wasn't even going to, like, was he actually using them to get high, or was he actually looking for the nutritional benefits of consuming the plants? Because it has so many other nutrients inside it. They're a very useful and beneficial plant to be consuming as part of a nice, healthy daily or a healthy lifestyle. But look, interestingly enough, anyway, the man's after getting off with it, so I'm sure he's happy with that. I'm sure he's happy just to hand over the £1,000 and just going back to living his life, although be it, free of growing cannabis. But sure, I'm sure he's connections over in Holland who he can go back to, or who might post him over a few bits and pieces. But interestingly enough, I suppose, looking at the age of the individual here too as well, he's 52, he's an aging man going into the later years of life now. Cannabis is incredibly beneficial for that, and that's been shown time and time again, especially in places in America where cannabis is legal. And this is a headline that came from a study. It's an old study, but I think it's relevant just to tie it into that, because in America where cannabis is legal, they're able to kind of track and trace things and gather data, and the over 55s was showing to be the fastest growing demographic of cannabis consumers. This was between 2014 and 15, I believe it was. And basically the numbers over there, I think it was, a second, I pop it up there now. The older people, the over 55s, only account for 14% of America's national population, and they're using more than 30% of all prescription drugs, including some highly addictive painkillers in America. And because of this, then they're saying that cannabis is fast becoming a pill alternative, and that's very true. We look at that, we see the nausea, we see for pain relief, we see for multiple things that there's prescription drugs available to. Many people would opt for cannabis as an alternative to it. And happy days since it's becoming legal now in America. There's more and more of the older population benefiting from the medicinal qualities there of cannabis use. And this is cannabis use. It says the cannabis use is up by over 53% with the over 55 population. And the 55 and older crowd is now the fastest growing demographic of cannabis users in America, where it increased from 2.8 million to 4.3 million users. And many of those, again, as it says, they're switching from their prescribed pill form medication for the, I suppose, unconventional flower herbal form cannabis. And it's great that they have the choice over there. Look at it here, where we're forcing people, that man treated like a criminal, brought before the courts, whereas over in America, there's people benefiting from it. One of the people benefiting from it would have been a woman by the name of Eva Aguilera, and she was 80 years of age when she said this, that every medication has a risk, and she has made her choice, and the government should not be able to influence that then either with punishments. Then also Stevie D'Angelo added in that there's an ironic, almost tragic phenomenon in America, which is that seniors, who are one of the groups who can most benefit from a use of cannabis, are the single group which remains the most opposed to reforming cannabis laws. And I think that still holds true very much so here in Ireland as well, where we do have an older population who seem to be just very held back against any talks about using cannabis or legalizing cannabis. But can you blame them? Look at what these older folks are consuming, the mainstream media, RT and the stuff, like, where these media groups are reluctant to report on any positive benefits of cannabis and cannabis legalization. They'll only report the negative. They'll report the 2 and the 3-year-olds going to hospital because they consume the edibles, but they won't report the many 2 and 3-year-olds out there maybe who could benefit from better access to cannabis medicines because it might prevent some of their seizures, or it might help with the any of the other issues that cannabis can help with, it's all been prevented. So you can't blame the older folks either. Like it's our job, and that's what I would say. It's our job to get out there in the community to help destigmatize this and to help spread the message. Cannabis is an incredibly beneficial plant. The prohibition of it has caused much needless suffering in our communities, and to legalize and regulate it would benefit us in so many ways, whether it be through an age limit applied which would prevent our younger population getting access to it, or whether it be because of easier access to it now that people who are faced with aging is a disease faced to the human bloody species. It's a very awful one too, and cannabis can help mitigate many of the symptoms of that disease of aging. And shame on any bloody government trying to prevent us this, like, and we can't allow them do this to us. Like, this should have waiting around another 5 to 10 years. Heck no, like we need this, like, and this has to happen before the end of this year if at all possible. Like, it certainly needs to be done by next year anyway, and that for sure is possible. And it's down to us really, like, isn't it? I see many of your comments out there as well, guys. Thanks very much, and keep them all coming on in. Conversing out there as well amongst each other. Good stuff, guys. Dawson's Creek as well joining the show. Welcome along, Dawson's Creek. And we jump into the next headline, guys, and it's another tragic headline, really. It starts with a kind and gentle vegan who harbours violence attacked his mum with a knife after using laced cannabis. This is a story that's coming out of the UK, where a father of skipped over a story there actually, but we'll keep driving on with that anyway. Apologies there now, guys, after just losing track of that one. Right, I just have to relocate that story. But yeah, this individual anyhow says that he would smoke cannabis. Not he wouldn't be a frequent smoker of it. He would said, at least he's told the cops, that he would smoke it irregularly. But he found himself after attacking his mother. So this individual, he was 49 years of age. His name was Brian Holden, and he left his mother Brenda covered in blood following the attack in the home they shared in Ashton in Makersfield, over in the UK. Holden told his mum he had met someone who was the Messiah, who told him he was the devil and that he had to kill her. He apologised, left the room and returned with a knife. Miss Holden struggled with her son, and she suffered cuts to her neck and hands. She was able to escape and knocked on a neighbour's door while covered in blood. Neighbours had heard loud screaming from the house, and Holden, who has worked as a draftsman for submarines, was holding a large fork and knife and was tasered by police. Despite the shocking incident, his mother has forgiven him and wants him back home. She has made a full recovery and attended court to support her son as he received a 20-month jail term. He is due to be released soon after having already served the equivalent sentence while on remand. Manchester Crown Court heard that Holden would occasionally indulge in cannabis use, but it was accepted that the cannabis he used was lightly laced with a type of synthetic cannabinoid such as spice, and the court heard that the drug had wholly unexpected effect on Holden, who is described as a vegan who harbours violence. He was originally accused of attempted murder, but later pleaded guilty to Section 20 wounding. Section 20, I suppose, is a mental health kind of act. Really, he lost it. And the Judge Hilary Manley said to describe this as an out of character is to make a gross understatement. Fortunately, your mother's injuries were not as serious as they could have been. She forgives you absolutely and simply wants you to return home. If nothing else, this case serves to illustrate in perhaps the starkest of terms the dangers of consuming illegal drugs. Judge Hilary, please could you next time when you're going to make a little statement like this, finish it with, and it is necessary that this is in the UK, that the UK government make these drugs not illegal, so people like Holden, when they go try to get cannabis, they can be assured they get cannabis that is not adulterated with such dangerous synthetic drugs. Because that's exactly what happened here. Like, the real danger, again, like the judge says it, I suppose, truly is in consuming illegal drugs. So, Judge, maybe you should help make them not illegal. I know you have to do your job, but surely, you can see that this is immoral, what's going on here. To keep drugs illegal any longer, it's just detrimental to our society. This man, like a vegan, took a knife to his bloody mother. How could you ever really forgive yourself after that? That is scary. And again, it's because of cannabis prohibition that caused this. It was not illegal drug use overall. It was the fact that drug use, this type of drug use, is illegal. If cannabis was legal, this guy could walk into a store. Most likely would not have happened. I bet 99% that could say that this most likely wouldn't have happened at all. So the court heard how Holden had come back from work to the house on Ashton Heath on August 26th of last year, and all seemed perfectly normal. He said he was going up the stairs to bed before coming down 10 minutes later and shaking and crying, saying he was sorry. Holden said someone who was the Messiah told him he was the devil and that he had to kill his mum, and he left the room and returned with the knife. And she struggled and got stabbed. Yeah, jeez, man, that's horrible. So effectively the guy was, after getting his bit of cannabis, came back, went upstairs, had a smoke, and literally just had a breakdown. The police found 5 bags of cannabis in his bedroom, weighing 5.64 grams in total, and toxicology reports confirmed he had used cannabis. Holden had only one previous conviction from 1997 for drink driving. Hang on a sec now, they're not actually after testing the cannabis to see if it was laced with synthetic cannabinoids. What in the name of God is going on? Why would you even bother testing the cannabis, or even the individual? This man is after having a psychotic break. Surely it'd be worthwhile to try to find out what's actually in the cannabis that caused the psychotic break and put a proper warning out to people to say, hey, we found cannabis laced with chemical XZ359, whatever, and be careful. No, instead they say nothing, sit in the story, charge the man, and that's it. Don't put any harm reduction information out there. Instead, maybe use it to try to warn people, hey, don't be using illegal drugs. Instead of saying to the government, hey, maybe we shouldn't have so many illegal drugs in our country. Foolish stuff, And we drive on from there, guys, and we go to another story in the UK. We'll stick with the UK for a second, where in Bradford, a Bradford Temple cannabis factory gardener was to be deported. And this is a story where a 39-year-old Albanian national who was illegally snuck into the UK, I would believe it was, trafficked in. I don't know how you would say it, but this individual anyway, when over in the UK, he was caught with how many plants? It was 645 plants in total. And his name is Fajan Japas, maybe. And he's 38 years of age. And he was arrested when the cops raided the building in Bradford in May. and inside the cops found 645 plants. In 6 especially equipped rooms and a CCTV system to monitor the premises. And Japas was sentenced to 24 months in jail, and that was suspended for 2 years, and he was told he would be deported after pleading guilty to producing cannabis. Prosecutor Deborah Smithies told the Bradford Crown Court a building in Barrington Street had a living area with a freezer full of food and a CCTV cameras monitoring the entrance. She said Japas of No Fixed Abode told the police he'd been working to pay off a debt when he was arrested, but made no further comment during his police interview. She told the court and that he had been told the drugs had an estimated value in the region of £1 million. The defence barrister Rodney Firm said there was no evidence his client was anything but a gardener, and that was why he had been left there. He said Japas had come to the country illegally and had been working in the black economy at various construction sites and car washes. It was only a matter of time before he met up with people who directed him to this operation. And that's a common occurrence, as well as these individuals getting recruited from other kind of black economy jobs out there, such as some of the construction jobs and car washes. That was one that I reported on too, maybe about 5 or 6 months ago. Another individual, Albanian too, was working at a car wash and ended up working in a grow house where, you know, he was just getting a little bit more money than what he was getting at the car wash. But anyway, he said he has no future in this country and he no wishes to go back to Albania. So again, this individual wants to go back home. So the country is paying for it. But meanwhile, this man, should he have been successful in doing what he done, he would have produced a £1 million crop. Instead now of that, the UK government are going to pay how much money? I would imagine like it cost them a bit of money to deport the guy, or maybe he pays for it himself. Maybe he's saving them out a bit of money by deporting himself, like, but still he stood to make £1 million. Like, imagine he goes back to Albania and he says, yeah lads, I was over there and we were growing, like, and I was making this and I was doing that, and he's back in Albania now, like, with a nice stash of cash, like going back over with a pocket full of crypto, a load of Bitcoin or something like that. But he's gone back telling them all, like, you know, oh, that's great, go on over there, lads, sneak on over there, look, grow a bit of cannabis inside in the grow rooms, tell them that you were snuck in, tell them you were working illegally, tell them, you know, you were whatever, and it'll all be grand, like, you'll just get deported, like, they're not even going to lock you up, because that's how much of a joke the prohibition of drugs actually is. And they wonder why there's kind of no end really to these people who kind of come out and get involved in this, to be fair. Silliness. But we drive on from there, guys, and the next headline is a mum and daughter who were dealing cannabis from their car in a village. Interestingly enough, like a cool old fucking family business to have going. Mother and daughter working together, selling a little bit of cannabis out of a car. Again, this is coming out of the UK. Where exactly in the UK was this? This is Sharon, 47, and Lauren, who is 25. They were pulled over by the cops, who found a stash of cannabis, and searches at their houses found more drugs and £1,150 in cash. Lauren claimed the cannabis was all for personal use, saying she bought a large quantity in one go because she had trouble getting hold of it. But messages on her phone showed she had been dealing to 33 individual customers, and that she had previously made a bulk 5-ounce purchase of the drug. So guys, remember to delete those messages, will you? Don't be making the job so easy for the cops, like, in fairness. But look, we can all get a bit lax. You never think that you're really going to get caught until you get caught, do you? But you have to be prepared. You always have to expect the unexpected. In Sharon's home, officers found 3 cannabis plants, a quality streets tin with cannabis in it, as well as a box, another tin, and 2 bags, all with cannabis in them. So she had a nice little few stashes of cannabis around the gaff. The pair admitted possessing cannabis with intent to supply, and a court heard the jobless Lauren, the mother herself, bought a BMW as a result of the scale of the drug dealing operation. So they were successful. Fair play to them, like, well done. it's not easy to be running a family business, like, but well done to them. It says a lot about the relationship, like, they must have a good old relationship there going. It's a pity they weren't able to do this, like a mother and daughter cannabis business legitimately. I'm sure the community would love it, and I'm sure they would maybe do well. They were probably good salespeople. Maybe they were nice to deal with. Like, young Lauren there has a nice old smile. Her mother's not too happy, but young Lauren has a nice old smile. Like, maybe she has good old customer service. Like, and for the women out there as well, it's important to mention that it's hard to find a female cannabis dealer. Like, and here we have two of them. So like I applaud them. Like, well done for going out there and representing the females in the game, because there's not enough of you out there doing it. And to do it together, like, I just think it's amazing. Like a mother and daughter, like, in an illegal sense, man, that this would be portrayed in the media as a successful business. Like, oh, look at this dynamic duo, like a great fucking a pairing, mother and daughter working together, delivering cannabis. Like, it could have been maybe even a very female orientated cannabis boutique or something like that. Like, I just don't know what way they would have brought it. Like, I don't know these individuals. I'm just kind of theorizing as to what might be possible. Like, but again, I just thought that was an interesting story there, that they come out of the UK. The Beth Crocker, defending Lauren, said she dealt to friends and associates who she knew on a social basis and had traded in a Mini to buy the BMW, which was not funded by supplying drugs. Again, the dirty coppers over there are trying to say, like, oh yeah, that was funded by drugs. Like, they're trying to get their greasy paws onto it, because if they can say she bought the BMW with the proceeds of crime, then they can take it and they can sell it and they can benefit from the proceeds of crime. Do you know what I mean? These cops, man, they're a dirty old bunch, in fairness. Like, so I hope they're not successful in doing that. And yeah, again, fair play to the two of them. Do you know how many people out there, guys, would buy an ounce or two and sort out a couple of friends? Like, I would imagine there's a good few. And, over time that might grow. You might have, before you know it, you might have started with helping out 4 or 5 of your friends and getting a bit of cannabis to them, and before you know it, like, you have like 10 or 20 like that you're kind of hooking up on maybe a regular basis. Like, that's kind of what happened to me at one stage in my life when I was at the younger years. But I don't think I would have ever done it with my dad. Like, my dad would love nothing more than to have me up in the high chair with him at the pub. Like, but sadly, like, no, pints were not for me. It was the old cannabis herb. Lauren said that she claimed to be dealing to support her own habit, and again, that's something similar to kind of what happened with myself. I didn't really want to be able to. I wasn't able to really afford to keep buying the cannabis, and it was just so easy to be able to just sell a few bits to my friends, get that little extra bit, and then I covered the cost of my own. Yeah, so I could believe that story also. And she also said that the cash was money she had saved on which belonged to her daughter, for whom she was the sole carer. The judge at Warwick Crown Court, Mr. Recorder Freeman, the judge, told Lauren, clearly you have quite a flourishing cannabis supply operation, although I accept it was to friends and acquaintances. She said, you deserve to go to prison for 12 months, but I'm not going to send you down because of two things. One is your daughter, who you were looking after, and the other is that very sensibly, you are not contesting where the prosecution put you. He told Sharon, clearly you've been quite a heavy user of cannabis over the years, but this was, as far as we know, your first contact with dealing. You were with your daughter who had brought you into it. He gave Lauren a year's suspended sentence and Sharon a 12-month community order, and both got rehab orders also. As they left the court, Lauren grinned at the photographers. So again, well done to him. Ladies, if you're out there, if you want to come on the podcast and share with me your experiences, like, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to know what that was like, I'd love to know the whole backstory, like how long we kind of doing it together. Was it just a once off that just happened to catch you together and the media's portraying it wrong? Again, if anybody's out there knows them, if they want to get in touch, if they'd like to come on and have a conversation, I would love to be able to pick their brains, because I'm sure they have a story to be told, in fairness. Like, It reminds me of the TV show Weeds. If I don't know if anybody's ever seen that out there, like, but I really enjoyed that TV show. Where Nancy Botwin, the mother, unfortunately the husband died at the start of it. And spoiler if anybody hasn't, but look, that's the kind of intro into it. Like, if you were to go check it out if you haven't seen it, like. But the mother becomes a single mother, and she gets into dealing cannabis then, like, to the local moms, the soccer moms and things like that. And it just grows from there then. Like, it's really worth checking out if you haven't seen it. I think there's like about maybe 8 or 9 seasons, and it is really well worth watching out, like all of them. Like, it gets a bit far-fetched a bit into it, like, but in fairness, it's a good show to watch. Yeah, I see John's checked it out. All right, Weeds is great. It used to be on Sky One. I think that's where it started. I kind of watched it for a while on that, and then I lost sight of it for a bit, and then I came back and just binge watched all the other seasons, and it was fucking great, man. Great old show. But that is it, guys. Actually, I have one more headline there for you, and it is I don't actually have it typed up there on the screen. There is one more story. I might have glossed over it. But there was a man jailed after being caught for a second time in possession of the proceeds of crime, it's been told at a Dublin court. This is the case of Aaron Maguire, who's 32, and he had an initial debt of approximately €15,000, and threats had been made against him and against his family also, when he had agreed then to collect money in order to pay off his debt. And he was caught then by the Gardaí when doing this. So again, an individual who had, for whatever reason, he had racked up a €15,000 debt. It was actually why he had racked up a €15,000 debt is because he got caught with a load of cannabis and cocaine in the past. And because of that, then he was, the guys he owed the money to were kind of like, come here, you still owe us that money. We don't give a shit that you got caught with it, like, and you're going to pay it off now by working for us, like. You know, we've got stuff that needs to be collected, and we as the big guys, we don't want to be collecting it, so now you owe us shit, like, so go do our fucking grunt work for us now. And the cops looked at, they catch him, like, and unfortunately he's going to be locked up for this now for 3 bloody years too, like, you know, 3 bloody years he's getting locked up for. So he was twice caught with the proceeds of crime. So the first time he was caught, as I say, he owed €15,000 because of previously getting caught with drugs in the past. And when he got caught then with the cash money that he was transferred in, the boys just said, come here, you got caught with that cash, boy, you owe us that as well. So they increased his debt to 30 grand. So this is the good work of our cops, like, do you know what I mean? And this individual then was out and about the place because they don't arrest him. Like, it takes you years for your court case to come up in the Irish courts because they're so backlogged and they're so fucking inefficient at actually doing their jobs. And Aaron Maguire got jumped on the streets above there in Dublin. He got a serious assault on himself. This was in July of 2020. And because of that attack then, his mother was in fear of what might happen to her son, and she went away and drew down her pension and paid off his debt. That's very unfortunate that the mother was forced into such a situation, but look, what parent wouldn't do this for their kid when they're in fear of their kid being attacked to a point where maybe their life might be taken. You know, the drug gang or the organised crime gang out there might be kind of like, you know what, look, we got enough of the money back off you there now, and we're just sick of fucking drawing this out. Look, we're just going to tap you. We're just going to give somebody a small bit of money that you gave us, and he's just going to tap you there one of the days. Look, you're going to be collecting your kids there outside of a school above in Dublin or something, and next pop up in the window of the car, drive-by shooting outside of a Dublin school again, like that'll be the headline. And to be all scratching their heads wondering, oh Jesus, this is terrible, why is this happening? Sure, the Gardaí need to do something about it. Meanwhile, it was actually because of the Gardaí, because of them taking the cannabis off of a person in the first place, putting them into such a predicament now where it gives the organised crime gangs leverage over the individual, because look, hey, you owe us money, like. And to be fair, like, the ratting them is not very much of an option, because look, the guys, like, if you go in and ratting them, you get caught with the cannabis or whatever you got caught with, and you go and they say, look, you better pay us for that, and you say, fuck you, I'm not paying you for this, I'm not going to rat you, and that should be enough. The boys be, no, we're not going to kill you, and that should be enough. So you better go and owe us that money, get us that money, but because these guys can be quite fucking ruthless, like, um, so that this is, again, another example of how prohibition is just making our communities incredibly unsafe. This is an incredible amount of money, again, like, to be owed to people, like, and it's an everyday affair really out there. And this is stuff that's like, it's not going on in back alleys. It's going on in our fucking neighborhoods, in our housing estates. Do you know, these are deals that are being done out next to greens where there's young fellas like, 10, 11, 12 kicking a soccer ball around, enjoying life. And meanwhile, there's two cars parked nearby, passing hundreds of thousands of euros, and both cars having people there armed with guns. Is this what we want in Ireland? Like, is this really what we want? I don't think it is, and this is why we need to decriminalise and regulate all drugs. Like, outside of cannabis, all drugs need to be decriminalised and regulated. And I will just say that we should start easily with cannabis. Cannabis is probably one of the easiest ones to regulate. We can have conversations about other drugs, but until we do that, we're always going to have situations where we're going to have these organised crime gangs that are at large running around, and our kids out there playing on the streets, the 10, 12-year-olds playing soccer, or it might be the 6, 7-year-old girls sitting down, playing with their Barbie dolls, playing house outside with their friends. And meanwhile, like, they get caught up in the shit in the streets because we've got a bunch of ignorant politicians who won't do the sensible thing and listen to all of the evidence. All of the evidence out there points to a regulated market being the most sensible way of controlling drugs in our society. It's all of the evidence is pointing to that direction. Prohibition, the only thing prohibition is successful at, is empowering organised crime gangs to make our streets a dangerous fucking place. So that is my piece for the 420 news, guys. A nice one, everybody, for tuning in. And I see my 23 asking, legalised drugs such as meth and heroin, that's crazy. It is crazy, but you know what's crazier? Having them illegal and controlled by organised crime gangs. What I'm proposing, I would ask you, my 23, are you afraid that if these drugs were to be legal, that you're going to wake up and want to do meth, you're going to want to do heroin? Like, really, like, what is the fear? Why would it be scary to you at all? Like, these things are already available in our society. They're just available through an unregulated source, a source that, again, it's free to sell them to our kids. They're free to sell them as they wish. Isn't it much more beneficial that the people who wish to use meth, who wish to use heroin, can do so in a way in which it's not going to fund the organised crime gangs, and in a way in which, if they were to be problematic drug users, because again, there's people out there who use heroin and meth and stuff like that, and it's not really problematic to them. Again, Dr. Carl Hart is a prime example of that. The guy's got fucking qualifications coming out his ears. An amazing neuroscientist, and his drug of choice is heroin. That for me was a real eye opener, in fairness, and I'm delighted he's after coming out and opening up about that, because it really helped for me to understand my perspective on things was a bit wrong, viewing these hard drugs, if you will. You know what I mean? That's prohibitionist kind of rhetoric. There is no real hard drugs. There's just drug use and there's drug abuse. And that's the way it is. There's drug use and drug abuse, and it's like, if somebody wants to use drugs, that they should be helped to do so by being educated and provided safe and regulated access to whatever drug that might be. And they need to be educated, again, as I say, in order to help them identify when their drug use is turning into drug abuse. And I think that's the only job of the government, So I hope that helped maybe sort that out a bit there, my 23. But again, look, we're all entitled to our opinions, and in fairness, like, I can understand why people would be thinking, oh geez, I have like these things legal and regulated. But look, it wouldn't be as people might think. It's not as if it's going to be as easy as just walking in and buying it from over the counter or something like that. Like, there's going to be protections in place. And a good example I kind of came up with earlier on today when I was talking with somebody was like, if you're a person who uses meth or heroin, for example, and you have to go down to the local Boots or the local pharmacy, whatever that might be, wherever it is that you might get this drug from, if you're a person who goes in there and say you look like me, that you're kind of healthy, full of color, I'm not worn away, I'm not thin, like I got all my teeth and things like that, like happy days. Like I don't think I'm going to set off any alarm bells. But if you were to be a person going in there, you're missing half your teeth, you look like you're incredibly undernourished, underweight, you look like you haven't washed in a week or two, your clothes haven't been changed, that person at the counter is going to identify that. And they're going to maybe try to be able to help you in a way in which, if the way in which currently the drug dealers are not doing so. If you appeared to a drug dealer currently looking like this, the only thing they're concerned about is if you got money to pay them for your drug. Whereas again, you look at the alternative, a regulated environment where they're able to turn around and say, like, we can help you. Do you need help? I suppose not that we can help. Do you need help? We can kind of see that you might be a bit distressed there. There's services here, like, there's somebody next door that can talk to you. Things like that. Because again, having these people down the back alleys, it's certainly not it's an ignorant way of dealing with it. But again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so I'm just going to read back through the comments there. And again, thanks very much for sharing your opinion as well, MyToy23. They're all very welcome. Like there's sorry guys, there's loads of comments after coming through there as well. Had to meet up with a random dealer recently as opposed to the usual sound lads. Scary stuff. Yeah, it's never good having to deal with someone new. Certainly not. And under this government, that's probably accurate. That's why we have to all be doing activist stuff and gather for protests and educate. Yeah. Casas the Strogas saying update on the Dublin by-election. Oh yeah, guys, an update in the Dublin by-election. I've to check out the candidates, but I'm going to hold back and put my name forward, and that was because I had a good conversation there yesterday with Peter Dooley. Peter Dooley is an independent running there above in the Dublin South Bay by-election this year. So if you're above there and if you can vote in that election, I would ask you to consider Peter Dooley for your number one, and then Katie Purcell for your number two above there. I would give Peter Dooley a number one because he's independent, and after having a conversation with him yesterday, he seems like he has a good old head on his shoulders, and he would be more than willing to work with a grassroots community kind of organisations such as some of the those I've worked with myself in order to decriminalise and regulate all drugs in Ireland. So that was Peter Dooley above in the Dublin South Bay election. So after having a conversation with him, I said I would hold off and putting my name forward. Just save me the stress and the headaches of all that would have came with it. And I'm happy to be able to support a real independent from the area above there. So Peter Dooley, guys, if anybody is looking to vote in that election, that's who I would be giving my number one to if I could vote above there. Yeah, I see MyToy23 saying, guys, you all remember the head shops. Everyone was trying it because it was legal. People would end up ruining themselves. Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment there as well, that when these head shops, like there was many people trying these things because they were legal, but there was many people trying them because they were legal alternatives to illegal drugs. So there was a hype there about them, you know what I mean? There was a certain attraction and allure. But again, if you were to have cannabis available and all of a sudden spice came on the market as an alternative to cannabis, nobody probably wouldn't have had such an uptake as to what they did. Again, many of the other ones there as well, there was like energy pills and stuff like that. Again, if we were just able to get illegal and regulated access to things like MDMA and stuff like that, maybe there would have been less demand there again for those head shops. And again, you know, everybody would be trying them, but not everybody went to the head shops. Like, you know, it would have seemed that way because of the way in which the media was portraying it. But again, within my own circle of friends, like I would say 90% of them actually didn't go and try any of the stuff from the head shops. Within my own friends and things like that, you know. But obviously, there's other people out there that have different groups of friends and might know more people who did go and try them. But I would definitely say that not everybody went to him, and it was a good argument to the need for having access to the illegal alternatives to him, because the illegal alternatives to him, quite often or not, were actually safer. Um, yeah. Other comments there, guys. No more war on any drugs. That's what's needed. Prohibition is a drug, and that's coming in from Pods 4420. And a Mai Tai 23, easier access if it's illegal. Sure, go on, I'll try it attitude. I could never agree with that. Yeah, certainly easier access, and go on, sure, I'll try it. But look, isn't it like, go on, sure, I'll try it. What's the harm in that, really? Like, and if it's an illegal and regulated way, like, we have to try to remember the fact that a lot of our perceptions are clouded because of a lot of the myths and hysteria that was created around drugs. Do you know, try it one time and you'll be hooked. Like, again, that isn't the truth at all. That's couldn't be any further actually from the truth for many drugs. It doesn't work in that way at all. There's a series of complex things have to happen in order for a person to develop addictions. One of them is repetitively using a drug in order to develop a chemical dependence on it. But others are your first time using it, and it offers you bliss and escape and stuff like that because you've got so many problems. Well, that's actually because you've got so many problems. Then actually, that's something that needs to be addressed. Then, and maybe once you can do this, like they might be able to help you. So yeah, I don't know, like, yeah, so go on and try it attitude, like, freedom of choice, like, that's what it has to come down to. And for us all to be adults, you have to hope that through educating the public, that you're going to end up in a better place. Again, like this, sure, go on, I'll try it attitude can happen anyway, even with illegal drugs, and it's much more detrimental than to the individual and to the community at large, when it is still prohibited too. You know, so like that, the argument is still there. Yeah, it would certainly make it easier, but look, for the few extra people that might do it, there's going to be that few extra people who are not going to die from doing it, who are not going to get indebted from doing it, who are not going to support organized crime gangs from doing it. You see the knock-on positive effects there by taking the prohibition away. Again, look, I'm not trying to change your mind or anything like that. I'm not trying to force my opinion on you. It's just like having a bit of a back and forward here, and I hope you're this is all respectful and all that towards you as well, Mai Tai. And again, thanks very much for sharing your views. Like, you're more than entitled to them, and I'm respecting them here as well. I disagree with them, but I respect them. It's good conversation as well. Like, it's helping us all, like, to develop our own ways and thinking, because you're saying things here now, and it's getting me thinking about stuff as well. And I am opening my mind as well to the fact that, like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, it will make it easier and stuff, but you have to look on the other side then, like, that it's like, it's still easy to get drugs. Just go on the internet, clickety clack, like, and the postman's going to be at your door in a few days. But again, Mai Tai, like, yeah, I definitely can see, like, why you would be holding those views. The media, the current society we have, there's so many things there that will leave people believing such things. Hebsy girl, like, yeah, that would be my opinion too. But certainly after hearing Carl Hart talk about it, all right, I would be interested in kind of knowing what the effects of heroin are, because I've never really tried it, in any sense, like, you know. Uh, but again, if it was legal and I was afforded an opportunity to do it, I could do it because I would be confident enough. Look, I don't have any underlying issues. I don't have any fucking traumatic experiences there from the past, and I think I would be educated enough to be able to identify that if I was moving into an area of being a problematic drug use, you know. So that would be just me and my views. So yeah, Hebsby girl, I suppose I would be an exception to that if it was legal, and if I was able to go into a place and, like, try heroin legally, like, I would probably be like, yeah, let's try it out. But would I inject it? Like, when probably I don't think so. I would be more interested in maybe the tea, or maybe smoking it as well. That would be interesting to see what the crack is there. I don't know. Was it Carl Hart? Does he do a line of heroin or something? Does he snort it? I don't know. I can't remember how he does it. But again, like, look, life is to be experienced, and there's lots of things out there that we should be experiencing. John Finnegan says, "What are you saying about dental misformity, Mister Condon?" Uh, um, Sorry, guys, just reading through your comments there as well. Taking out ship. Shiting in the bucket says, "Put the coke back in the cola." Hey, shiting in the bucket. You should get a campaign going, man. If somebody launches a campaign to get the coke back in the cola, I'll support you. That would be, if anything, just for the good comedy effect as well, like, that would be pretty funny, like having somebody out there campaigning to get cocaine back in the Coca-Cola for over 18s only, like, that'll be a good old buzz. Just packing up a bowl there as well, guys. Gonna blaze one up, and then we'll have to start signing off there shortly. Um, and it's good to hear as well, my tie, that you are pro cannabis. So that is good to hear. And why would you not be? um, DB Woodcraft says, "I'd love to try ayahuasca and or DMT. Seen a documentary or seven recently, and Wim Hof the Iceman. Yeah, DMT and ayahuasca are certainly interesting substances. I've tried DMT a couple of times myself, but I've not tried ayahuasca, and it's certainly going to be worth the wait anyway. So enjoy it when you do get to try it, DB. Skitanis as well saying, we can keep the patronising for Frank Fledgen, Stephen Dillhole, and Mehole." uh, yeah, and I see a few other people out there agreeing with the sentiment, all drugs legalized and regulated. And again, look, I can't blame people for not agreeing with it either. It is a bit of an extreme idea, but when you look at the idea of keeping them illegal, it's like that's far more extreme. It really is, like, to try to criminalize what is just normal human behavior that doesn't affect any other individuals. It's rather insane, like, and especially when we see the mess it's caused. Multi-billion euro industries, like, controlled by people like the Kinnons and things like that. Like, come on, we can surely do better than that. Um, oh, sorry, did I say Katie Purcell? Bridget Purcell, I should have said, actually. So that is, give Peter Dooley the number one above in the Dublin South Bay, and give Bridget Purcell the number two. That would be my recommendation anyway. But again, guys, you're entitled to vote whatever way you want. If I was voting up there, that's how I would be doing it, based upon what I've seen and heard so far. R&B saying addiction is an illness and not a crime. Yeah, exactly. For a lot of people, addiction certainly is an illness. For all people who get addicted at it, actually, it is an illness. Man, it should never be a crime. But people are preyed upon because of the super prohibition. Straw Clips, what's going on out there? Just joining in, so welcome along here. We're just finishing up, just getting through some of the comments before we sign off for the evening. Other comments out there, guys? DB Woodcraft saying, "I loved shrooms back in the day, nature buzz." And I haven't done a nice dose of shrooms actually in a while. I'm really long overdue a macro dose now. I've been microdosing with the Liberty caps for a little bit now, for quite a while actually. But I haven't taken a macro dose in probably about maybe over a year, for mushrooms. I did do a macro dose of LSD maybe 8 months ago, maybe 9 months ago, and that was quite enjoyable. In fairness, just lay down in a bed alone, watch the church gospel, midnight church gospel by Duncan Trussell, watched all of the episodes from start to finish, come up to come down, and it was epic. Highly recommend it. I think it was about 125 mics of LSD, or milligrams of LSD, or micrograms. Other common skies, Podge 85, it was a place you could buy legal highs before in the day. Um, oh, that's about the head shops. Shops that sell primarily smoking for paraphernalia. Yeah, nice one for explaining that out there, guys. Legends. Um, Shy son, fuck the shades. Soon come, hopefully you can re-up soon. Scatanist, you're never too old for mushrooms. If anything, as we get older, they help us become wiser and more compassionate. That is very true. And again, with these psychedelics, like, they have to be used infrequently. I believe, like, Terence McKenna was kind of right in that, high doses infrequently, and maybe micro doses frequently. That would be the way in which to deal with psychedelics, if to be dealt with at all. Strawclip saying here, Martin, I'd say you have some headache from listening to the absolute bullshit and lies about weed. Literally 5 minutes on Crown, looking at the Garda halls of a few grams, and I wanna punch something. Man, it's so infuriating. I would see time and time again these raids being portrayed in the media as a job well done, and meanwhile I know it's completely the opposite story. It couldn't be any further from the truth, and yeah, I would feel like banging my head off the wall there at times. The ignorance then from politicians, the likes of Frank Fee and Stephen Donnelly, completely ignorant of the harms that they are causing by their fucking backwards, flawed policies. Oh man, like, oh yeah, incredibly stressing. It makes me want to have a bowl. And that was something that happened actually before in court. Like, I was in court for cannabis, and like the judge, I'd said to him, he was after giving me my fine and stuff like that, and I was saying to him, like, I goes, Judge, the first thing I'm doing when I leave this court is I'm gonna go smoke some cannabis because I'm stressed to the max. Oh yeah. And he had said no, he didn't even respond. I was kind of left go then at this stage, like, he was after handing down my sentence. I just had enough of them, like, do you know what I mean? What they're doing is far more detrimental than what I'm about to do here. Like, this right now, like, while this is illegal and while this is a crime, like, the fact that it is illegal and under control of organised crime gangs is much more dangerous to our society than this simple little action of consuming my own. I'm a fucking a considerate, or yeah, a considerate cannabis consumer. Like, I think about a community, and I try not to support organised crime gangs. I get my cannabis from a source where it's a family I'm supporting. I'm helping my buddy cover the costs of his cannabis production, and look, if he has any extra bit of money at the end of the month or whatever it is, that's going to go to support his family. He's not driving around in a Ferrari, like, he's not going around in the Canada Goose jackets and buying fucking iPhone X's and Z's and stuff like that. Like, no, like, the dude is just living a decent, normal lifestyle, like, providing for his kids, providing for his family, helping keep the roof over the head, helping him keep the lights on. Like, and that's what I choose to do, and that's how I choose to support my cannabis. And should my buddy ever get caught with what he's doing, I'll be there at the court beside him, supporting him. And there'll be a few other people there too, because I've made it that way. I'm convincing people to get out there and start supporting the people who are supporting them through growing cannabis for them, So all for one and one for all. Yeah, Irish Hemp Harvest saying, I know a few people got big into spice and were never the same. Big problem, especially rurally where there's less to be doing. I know a few young fellas who got into the spice as well. One of them got into it actually because it was easier to get than cannabis. He wasn't able to get his hands on cannabis. He bought some of the spice stuff. He didn't mind it. He liked the buzz off it because, look, the young fella had his underlying issues there anyway. Oh shit. There was a nice bit of hash actually in that. Seen all the hash just smouldering up out of the bowl beside me, and I was like, oh, I better not waste that. But like, yeah, that buddy, he was a young fella. He was only just over 18, and that head shop stuff messed his head up big time. So yeah, it's definitely a problem. Um, excuse me. Pod 85, especially if you microdose on lib caps, it's brilliant natural medicine for anti-depression. And my Thai 23, Martin, I'm talking about personal experiences for myself and a lot of people I know. Just think it would cause more problems than it would solve. No offense taken at all, and thanks for letting me know that anyway as well. Sometimes when you respond to comments, I just want to make sure that I don't feel like I'm like shoving my opinion down your throat or anything like that. No, not at all. Totally accept as well. People have personal experiences as well that might help. That would influence their perspective on things as well. So I totally accept that as well, and we'll take that on board as well, into as to how you formed your opinion and your stance on things. But look, everybody's entitled, but you're pro cannabis anyway, so you're not a lost cause like some people out there, like Frank Fian. So it's good to be able to hash these things out. Pod 85 says, yeah, I know a few lads that never came back after it and are still messed up on the spice, unfortunately. Yeah, even over in Germany now, and I was in Berlin and stuff, that was the Vice piece that came out, where the lads over there were actively looking for that, what were they calling it? The haze, I think they were calling it the haze over there, and that was the cannabis that was after being sprayed. There was communities out there actively seeking it out, and meanwhile, all it was poorly grown cannabis. Well, poorly grown cannabis that was grown for like hemp, and then that was being sprayed with the synthetic cannabinoids and maybe some terpenes, and then being banged off into the market. And people were looking for it because it was actually incredibly addictive. But again, you look at prohibition. This is what's after happening. Empowers the wrong kind of people. And these kind of people are not the ones who are going to go out there and do good in our community. Maybe that mother and daughter duo there, like, should they have been able to set up a legal and regulated cannabis business? Again, maybe they might have provided for the under catered for female community out there in the cannabis community, by setting up a female cannabis friendly boutique, something like that. Again, look, I hope I'm not being sexist to the women there or something like that, but you know where I'm going with this. Like, these women could have provided for a community, but instead it's the criminals, like, and they have no good intentions at all, unfortunately. Not the organised crime gangs anyway, like the big massive ones operating internationally. Straw clips, cocaine is a mad drug, nearly ruined my life from my own stupidity. I'm not going to blame the drug all the way, but damn, that takes you over. I can see how that happens as well, man. I went out drinking a few times and got incredibly drunk and was offered cocaine and didn't say no, and woo, what a rush, man. But really, like, it's just, I enjoyed the experience, I enjoyed the feeling, and I'm glad I got to do it and stuff, like, but for me it was like, no, like, I could see, like, it's like 4 in the morning, like, and you're still yapping away, and you're like, can we get another bag? We get another bag. Go on, let's get another bag, like, you know what I mean? Like, and thank fuck we weren't able to get another bag at 4 in the morning that time, because we probably would have went on, like, and got, like, it's not cheap. It's not cheap, and when you're drunk and you're on it, like, you're like, fuck that, I'll pay for it next week, we'll worry about it next week, just give me the bag there now, look, and we'll sort it out there next week. I could see, like, I could see how that could be a dangerous one, really, to have legal and regulated. But look, if people, we have to be able to trust people, like, you do, like, education, that's where it's at. Like, I was able to regulate myself in a sense. When you're aware that's an effect of it, like, maybe we'd be able to kind of put barriers in place to prevent that, like, protections, education, harm reduction is this the key, like. Nice, the lads playing golf there, DB Woodcraft telling me played golf in the 7 mates and went on trips and strolled around in the mountains. One of the lads got paranoid, the cops were coming and he was carrying the hash. Nice. And John Finnegan's heading out to do a bit of gardening. Nice, John, nice. Geez, lads, there's so many comments coming through. We still have a good old audience out there, and we see the old Twitch following as growing there as well. We got 3 people watching on Twitch. What's happening out there on Twitch, guys? Shout out to all of you and to everybody else as well, still tuning in. Guys, thanks very much for all the comments coming in. I'm just gonna and apologize. I'm just gonna kind of browse through and see if there's anything catches my eye. Might I didn't do it on an AstroTurf, but took it nearby. Last time I took ketamine, I ended up going into a K-hole in the middle of an AstroTurf when there was training on. Oh no, that's not good. Geez, that's going to be a dodgy one. But I've never done ketamine actually myself. But they say that the K-hole is the goal. And that's kind of what they say, at least even in the therapy setting, when you're working with a therapist, sometimes the K-hole is the goal. And I don't know if that rings true. Like, I've not had any experiences with it, so I'm just working off of what I've kind of heard. But ketamine is a very interesting drug, all right, especially, with its potential there therapeutically. But it does get used recreationally there as well, as you're kind of saying, out in an AstroTurf pitch is probably not really the place to be coming up on ketamine. Shit, son. Strawclip says, I love our country. We have such a strong weed community. It would be so much better if we had legislation or legalization. I met a random person a few days ago. He had a J and I had one too. Made a new friend. Oh man, that's the greatest, isn't it? Really, like when you're kind of just going out for an old stroll and smoke, and somebody else doing the exact same thing. Yes, smoking friends. Yeah, it is nice, all right, to get to know people kind of like that. It was only actually, and interestingly enough, I suppose I'll be doing a little separate piece about this later on. But I met a grower who was busted, I suppose, but not to give away any specific details. But this person was busted within just say the last 12 months, and they were busted with a number of cannabis plants that would have been over the €10,000 valuation by the cops. And again, just not to give away any specifics, because I don't want to give away who this person was at all, just in case anybody guesses or anything. But this individual was like filling me in on the whole situation. It was just a normal everyday person too. They're being portrayed out there in the media as being so much worse than what they are. But he was telling me, I suppose, the kind of the point of why I'm bringing it up is that this person was telling me why how he met another grower, and it was a friend of his that he didn't even know was growing, and he only filled him in on growing, like after he found out the other fella was growing, and they were like, oh, I didn't know you were doing it, I didn't know you were doing it, oh yeah this, and like drawing like that's it, and it's like we're being so fucking segregated from one another. Our community can be so much stronger and better, because there's so many nice people out there. Like I've met a lot of people who smoke cannabis who've come to events, like true consumers of cannabis, like, and I would say 99% of them have been really cool people, like, so, like, and that's not saying that everybody who smokes cannabis is cool. It's like the true fucking people who would display cannabis culture, whatever that might mean, the heart of it, like. Hebsy girl, I've always been too scared to try hallucinogens. It's pretty much the only thing I haven't tried. I get that as well, actually, and I've no problem saying that. I do get the anxious about it, very worried about it. I suppose the biggest worry for me in doing it is that the right environment in which to do it. I can never really acquire it because there's always somebody around who I shouldn't be doing hallucinogen around, so trying to get the right settings is difficult. And I would love to do it as part of kind of more traditional uses as well. I've done mushrooms, I've done DMT, but I would love to try them in the more kind of traditional settings. I would love to get over to Mexico and try some mushrooms over in Mexico with like some of the guys over there who've done it for fucking thousands of years, and to maybe even get over to the jungle then as well to try out the ayahuasca. And I'd be very interested as well in getting over to bloody South Africa and trying out the ibogaine as part of that fucking crazy tribal tradition where they'd be doing all sorts of crazy things with fucking fire ants and shit like that as well, man. Nuts. But yeah, again, loads of interesting things. But hallucinogens, yeah, they're certainly not to be trifled with anyway. At least not willy nilly. Like, you have to respect them. To be fearful is probably the respectful is more the right way to be. Um, DB Woodcraft said, I had one LSD trip and the trip started well but ended up on my own staring at a mirror for God knows how long, watching my face get older in front of me. That's a weird one, alright. And yeah, start low, go slow. That's right, Skatanis. Definitely start low, go slow. But always, I suppose, an important one with psychedelics is making sure the setting is correct and that there's a person nearby, whether in the room or in a nearby room, who can keep an eye on you to ensure that you're safe, being safe. And always remember, water's wet and fire burns. um, Straw clips and them little clear bottles of spice vape juice are going around my town at the moment. I took a few tokes of my friends to try it, and it was effing amazing high. I can see why it's so destructive. Well, there you go, guys. Be warned. There's vape juices going around the place, laced up with the old spice. Miss Stowe is saying, when taking shrooms or LSD, you should really be outdoors, ideally with good weather, as the setting and mindset at the time has a big influence. Yeah, that's very true. Would recommend to the outdoors for the mushrooms during the daytime as well is great, and to do it with some good friends is even better. And we cycled out to the woods in Passage West. We took the mushrooms. We ate the mushrooms just by the lake down by Parky Huive, and we cycled then from there out along the old railway tracks, and we ended up in Passage just as we came up on the mushrooms, and we went into the woods and had an amazing day. That was about 5 years ago with all the old fellow herbal scientists. um, Other comments, what's happening, man? Falls, yes, free the weed. And Hebsy girl, I dealt weed to friends for a while, and even the guys liked buying from a woman, said it wasn't as intimidating. Well, there you go. Like, even the guys actually feel intimidated buying cannabis from guys. So, like, imagine like how it must feel then for many women out there who would be just incredibly intimidated just by the presence of a male, and then having to get it from a male who's a criminal, I suppose, a drug dealer. Like, it must be awful. WRT Gunner saying, when I was in the last year of school, some of us did a 3-week tester course with the army. Let's just say, not the right place to take magic mushrooms. Cocaine and speed, shite, MDMA and psychedelics and cannabis, my favourites. That's DB Woodcraft. Yeah, I think we would be in the same boat there as well. I don't think the stimulant drugs are really for me. And while MDMA could sometimes be seen maybe as a stimulant, I think that's because sometimes it gets mixed with speed into pill form and ecstasy. But yeah, there's certainly a bit of a buzz there to that, but it's class. Again, MDMA, it's been back in, the last time I done that was at Boomtown in 2016, over 5 years ago, and that was an incredible night to remember. Like, we were sitting around in the middle of the night at a blazing fire, surrounded by many, many strangers, just talking and sharing, like, just nothing but love. MDMA is bloody great, like, in the right setting. And luckily enough, like, that we didn't get ripped off, and we got good quality MDMA, and yeah, it was a good time. um Yeah, Hype TK is saying they put you in a K-hole during therapy. Yeah, that's pretty much what I heard as well. K-hole's the goal. Just make sure your friends are somebody you can trust, like, because you're sitting there with like T-Rex arms, all locked up. You're all fucking dissociated and shit like that. Like, you don't want to be with somebody who's gonna fucking shave her eyebrows and draw a bloody load of drawings in your face or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's good to have good friends. DBO Craft, yeah, Martin, well done on the planting in Cork. I think I used to walk around that area with my granny when growing up. Nice. I'm going to be taking a walk down that way there shortly with the dogs, actually. So I'll see if I can pop an old live video up or something like that, or get some photos and updates in. I'll be taking an old bottle of plant feed down with me as well, just to kind of help them kind of keep their little vigorousness going. And a legend there as well, Irish Hemp Harvest, for getting in an old super chat there, and to DB Woodcraft, or sorry, to Podge85 and to Mistawes as well. Mistawes saying a great old show today, and Podge getting in the hashtags there as well. Hashtag Feed the Birds and hashtag Cannabis Reform Ireland, and Irish Hemp Harvest adding in there to the conversation as well, to keep up the great work, Martin. I will indeed. Thanks very much, guys, for your support, and to everybody else who's after staying tuned in as well, guys. We're just coming up over on an hour and a half, and I'm amazed I can keep like such an audience as well, you know. The shows would be much shorter as well if I didn't have such an audience. So thanks very much, guys, for that. You know, you keep me coming back for more as well. Like, so I really enjoy this interaction afterwards. And I enjoy doing the research as well. I used to always be reading these news articles anyway in the past, you know. So I just was taking something I was doing anyway. I was just putting it out there to see what came back at me. And what came back at me, guys, I have to say, like, I'm blown away by it. Thanks very much. A great community out there supporting the show as always. Shyson has scattered 1 million hemp seeds in the past few weeks. Can't wait to see the city in a month or two. Good man, Shyson. That's an achievement and a half. Like, 1 million hemp seeds, like, fair feckin' play. Like, that probably cost you about what, maybe about 50 quid or so to get 1 million hemp seeds. Just an idea is that anybody else out there who wants to try to get out and spread the seeds. Like, I think it's like a kilo of seeds. Like, you get a kilo of seeds for probably about a tenner or something like that. A kilo of seeds is probably about 100,000 seeds or something like. So go mad. I will do an update there again on Friday, guys. I'll compile pictures that have been sent to me as well from other people from around the country who are taking part in the Overgrow the Government campaign and the Feed the Birds campaign. And I've got some really good pictures. Oh, excuse me. There's some plants out there that are doing really well in some of the locations that they've been planted. And I even got some nice ones there this morning where they were planted next to some fairy doors. If you're out there, you know who you are, who sent them in. Nice job, guys. Well done, everybody, getting involved in this. Like, you're all legends. Like, it's nice to see the community really growing out there. And for these cannabis plants to be just popping up everywhere. Again, I hope the media start picking up in this, and I hope it gets the conversation going in the media as to the kind of complete joke that prohibition is, that they're trying to make nature illegal. Silly, like. Skatana saying, damn, that's mad. I didn't expect that at all, but the weather would have been about right for most of the year. And that's Daily Talker saying, I knew Liberty Caps grow most of the year, but this is the first time I actually found one. Are people finding them already? That's interesting to hear. R420 supplies, well, I suppose it is the location actually as well. They start higher up and they work their way down to the lower lands. So for me down here by the city, to wait until bloody August and September, October, sometimes even. R420 supplies, what's going on? Hope you're well. Saying the best place I've found for finding mushrooms is the Curragh in Kildare, right behind the racetrack. There you go, guys. If anybody's interested in all to go hunting, I'm sure that's a very common place where people go as well. I've heard that being mentioned loads of times before. Podge 85. Another interesting place actually, R420, was the Aldi and Lidl car parks. It seems like they use the same landscaper to do their like wood chips in the little kind of trees and bushes they maintain around their shopping centres, and sometimes those ones are good for the what is it called, psilocybin cyanesis. It's the wavy caps. So yeah, that's another one to be aware of. So that's at the Lidl and Aldi car parks. A lot of the times they have like areas where there's like trees growing, bushes, small shrubs, and they throw in wood chips. And they use the same landscaper, and they seem to be getting wood chips that are coming that are already inoculated with some spores from that mushroom, and then those mushrooms grow there. So if you want some free psychedelics mushrooms, guys, go to Little and Aldi. There's one for you. Yeah, the mulch, that's the stuff, the wood chips that they've been using. They're coming from a source that's after being, and it's common enough as well for this type of mushroom. Find a landscaper and lick his boots. Just give the man a big kiss and a hug and thank him for the service that he's providing the community. There's going to be many people probably out there now pissed off at me that I've given away their little and Aldi spots. But look, spread the word, guys. It's a good spot to go for the all mushrooms, and at the right time of the year. I believe kind of coming into July and August is a good time for those type of mushrooms. You might find them as early as June as well. I don't know, but yeah, definitely July and August is a time to be keeping out for an eye out for them. So Aldi and Lidl for your magic mushrooms, guys, and they're free. You just gotta pick them yourself. Other comments, guys. Sorry, guys. I'm just kind of looking through your comments, and I'm just aware the show is just going on and on. I know there are probably some of you have other stuff to get on and get done this evening as well, and I'm sure my dogs are probably getting restless out the back. Skitana saying MDMA with mushrooms is also beautiful. A hippie flip puts you in a nice spot. I cannot say I've tried that actually. To be honest, I've heard about it. And what was the other one as well? Like there's Jedi flipping, isn't there? And there's Jedi flipping. Is it like LSD and DMT? I think that's Jedi flipping. I could be wrong. My Toy 23 is asking, anyone try the Magic Truffles Serious Buzz? I've tried the Magic Truffles as well when I was over in Amsterdam, and there is a very interesting buzz off them, alright, in fairness. There was a very, like, a watery effect, like it made everything wavy. I can remember I said at one stage, actually, during the trip to one of the lads, we were watching fucking Planet Earth, Blue Planet, was it? Yeah, Blue Planet. And I was just kind of saying it to the lads. I goes, Jesus, lads, it's like we're underwater. Like, it looks as if we're underwater. The whole fucking room looks like it's kind of got a motion to it, like the ocean. And then my buddy was just like, what? I didn't piss myself. I didn't piss myself. What are you saying, boy? He just is, I don't know, he got this one, you know. It was a funny one anyway. I can't remember how that started off there actually, but it was a funny old experience. And R420 saying there, got the truffles a couple of times online, and I've had mixed results with them. Yeah, that's something I've experienced as well, as mixed results. But while we did have that very good experience that time, there was another time we tried maybe about the same amount, and there was very little actually, just felt quite nauseous and a little bit of a buzz, but there was no visuals at all. And yeah, the very little kind of change of mindset or anything like that as well. So they can be a bit hit or miss at times as well, but look, that's sources and all of this problems. Mushrooms are definitely better though. Daily Talker, anyone with MDMA been looking for the stuff for ages? Daily Talker, if my recommendation if you're looking for MDMA is the dark web. If I was going to get MDMA myself, I would be going to the dark web. I don't know of any of the websites that are up there, but I'm sure they're not too hard to find at all. If a quick old Google search there, and you'll find an old dark web marketplace, and order it and get the postman to deliver it. Just look at the reviews, find a good vendor where there's good reviews, good feedback, and where they might even be supplying lab reports. So look out for that as well. That's always important to be able to get that from your vendor. I always thought the Liberty Caps only come up between August and October after a day's rain. Yeah, it does depend on rain as well. And I would have always said as well, August and October, you know, sometimes maybe even into November and December, you could see them around the place. But yeah, definitely I wouldn't start seeing them until at least August anyway, was in my experience. Yeah, I see Hype TCK saying everyone on Insta apparently in reply there to Daily Talker. And that was looking for the MDMA. Dave Cogan, you're very welcome. Not a bother at all, and welcome to the show. Um, Other comments, guys. I see if I can see anything directed directly at me. I stay in sport because I love the passion you got. Top man doing top work. Thanks very much, WRT. Appreciate that. Um, Boom, boom, boom. Just flicking through them, guys. Martin's such a well-spoken person, a great face, and a voice for pushing for legalization. Thanks for that, Straw Clips. Thanks very much, guys. Loving the kind words, guys. Jeez, you're gonna make me get all sobby in a second now. Podge 85. Jeez, those birds are really gone to the fairies. You said a Podge. Cav Lounge says, hope you're well, Martin. Be safe, bro. Just a quick stop in. Thanks very much for that, Cav. I'm always going to be safe. And thanks very much for stopping in as well. Daily Talker says, that's plenty for sure. I picked an ounce dry within an hour or 90 minutes, maybe, in one magical field. That's some good picking, in fairness. Like, that's good job. I went out picking mushrooms there one day, and or sorry, I went out for a walk with the dogs one day, and I had my daughter with me, and we were walking through a field, and there was mushrooms there, and I was just like, ah, feck it, I'm not going to say no to the opportunity to pick a few Liberty caps. And my daughter was over with the dogs, and so I was like, oh, Dad, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm just picking some mushrooms there. And she doesn't even like mushrooms; she wouldn't eat mushrooms at all. Like, so she's like, oh, can I help you? I was like, yeah, grand. So, like, my daughter helped me picking some of the magic mushrooms then as well. It was a funny enough old experience. Now, there was only a handful of them there, in fairness, like, and it was enough to dry off and get a couple of microdoses out of, like, but, you know, it's just like, yeah, it was an interesting one, all right, to be out in the field picking mushrooms with your daughter, like. I wonder when they grow up, like, will I get to sit down and actually maybe have a psychedelic experience with them as adults? It'll be an interesting one. I wonder what kind of people they'll grow up to be as adults. Like, I'm always curious as to that. I'm very happy with how they're growing up, but anyway, so far, like, they're two very strong characters. So yeah, much love for them. And the third one on the way, actually, as well. Yes, exciting times. um, Other comments. I'm out of Ishka now as well, so the cottonmouth is going to get serious. We used to have to watch out for the army marshals years ago on the Corla when we were out picking. That was coming in from pods. Yeah, that's where the army do a lot of their drills, don't they? They go out there marching and stuff like that. All right. I've seen them out there a few times when driving by. Often seen a lot of sheep in there too. Like, and I've always been thinking there's got to be a lot of mushrooms in there. LSD and Buckfast. What's that one called, DB Wocraft? Is there some trendy name out there for that? Like, Scottish hippie flip. The drunken Scottish hippie. I don't know what you would call it. Buckfast is a Scottish drink. I would be correct in assuming connecting Buckfast and Scotland. Yeah, I think so. It's the monks. Sorry, I think they came out of Scotland. I could be completely bloody wrong in that now, but yeah, forgive me if I was. A buck trip, a fast trip. Yeah. Skatanist, God yes, had an amazing truffles trip on a psytrance party in Netherlands in a church. We'll never forget that, man. Tripping in a church, there's on for ya. Hebsy Girl says, I get my weed domestically in the mail. Much like many people here in Ireland, so that seems to be an interesting one. And it seems like the government are slow to be able to do anything about that because there's just so many people actually doing it. Straw Clips saying, yes, Daily Talker, it's pretty annoying at first, but you get used to the process. And yeah, that's about buying off of the dark web. Dawson's Creek says, if you ever move the podcast to Austin, Texas, I'm unsubscribing. That won't be happening anyway, that's for sure. If I was to be moving anywhere, I would probably go to, I don't know, would I go to Canada before I would go to America, to be honest. But yeah, I have no intentions of moving the podcast anytime soon anyway, that's for sure. Teresa says, out of my three, only one smokes or does drugs. They have all tried smoke. Oh, all right, interesting. Out of your three kids, that is nice one for that. Yeah. Have you ever done any psychedelics with them? Would you go away as a family to do an ayahuasca ceremony or something like that, or even a psychedelic mushroom ceremony? I would wonder, like, as a family, I wonder what that could be like as an experience. Or maybe even the potential there. Imagine what MDMA would be like for family therapy, to bring a family into a room over a couple of hours and to be able to administer MDMA to them all, and from to sit down and to be able to go through their issues in a setting, or even for couples or whatever. Like, imagine. Incredible potential there for it. Right, I've a last bowl packed up there. I see loads more comments flying in, guys, but I'm going to have to love ye and leave ye almost into a 2 hour long show, like, and it's yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys, in fairness, like, but I would end up staying here all night chatting to you, because you're just such a great punch out there, in fairness, and I love the communications that are coming in. Dawson's Creek saying MDMA is a great recreationally, but I've seen it used medicinally on a couple where the lady had a terminal disease and was down and couldn't talk. They both took MDMA and had the best, most emotional night. I can imagine so. Like, I definitely be a big proponent of proponent, is that the right word? Supporter, yeah, a big supporter of MDMA therapy. Because, like, I think it's an incredibly therapeutic drug in the correct setting. And it has very little dangers as well. Like, shout out to the guys at Maps as well, doing tremendous work. Like, ball at the ready, guys, and this is going to be a goodbye ball. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to love you and leave you. I'll hit this one, and I'm going to strap the dogs up and take an old stroll. So, guys, blaze it on up if you got it, and this will be the last one for me for the evening. It's Bana night, actually, as well, guys. Did anybody remember that? It's Bana night. There's going to be loads of fires going on around the place. There's going to be loads of young fellas around gatting. Happy days growing up, going around to the bonfires. Fuck's sake. Like, it's not what it used to be before, really, is it? There's not the same level of them. There's a lot less support for them anymore, but happy memories, all right, in Bana night. So I wonder, will I be seeing any smoke when I'm going out there? I know I'll be making some smoke on my own anyway while I'm on my walk, but look, that's another story for another day. Right, guys, thanks very much, everybody, for your comments and all your well wishes. Have a nice evening, everybody. I'll be back with more 420 news on a Friday. So again, as always, guys, stay blazed out there and keep her lit. And keep an eye out as well tomorrow morning, guys, for the 10 a.m. stream of the FSAI event. And sign up to it if you want to sign up to it. And if you want to ask questions, get over and sign up and ask questions there too. So, toodaloo, guys. Have a nice evening, and I will chat y'all soon. Peace.